What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Legends of the Dugout. I got three special guests sitting behind screen right now, and we're going to be talking about three of the best Braves players to ever play MLB. So I'm going to bring up Pastor Craig,
Hey guys.
Dan, and Matt. Your subject matter experts on Aaron, Matthews, and Spawn. So, welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for doing this. So, let's go off and start with the Boston Braves. So, who wants to go?
Well, I guess I'm going to be first because Spawn started first. He made a cameo appearance in 1942, went back to the minors, and then went into World War II. He was I believe he's the most decorated in terms of medals baseball player to appear in World War II. He was in battle. He was actually hit in the Battle of the Bulge. So I believe he has Purple Heart and several other medals. He came out and appeared back on the Braves in 1946. One thing that Spawn said later on in his career was that his time in the military didn't take away from his career. It gave him the courage, the strength, the patience, the fortitude, all the things that he learned in the armed forces helped him become a better pitcher, stronger person also. So he starts out in 46. There are no 46 cards. There's a 47 Spawn card that both Matt and I are looking for. It's the Tip Top Red card. Actually, no, wait, I think Matt has one. A Tip Top Red card. I'm looking at it. And it's ridiculously overpriced. So at this point, I'm going to start out with the flagship rookie cards of. He's got two of them of Spawn. One is, of course, the 48 Bowman, which I purchased raw from a friend on Twitter. Submitted it to SGC, hoping for a 4, thinking probably 3 to 4, and it got a 4.5, which is a nice little bump in value for me on this one. But really. I have the whole set in SGC slabs, and part of the reason that I did that was because I started out with the Hall of Famers in such good condition. This is not in good condition, but that's because it's a very hard card to find. It's the 48-49 Leaf, really 49, but people say 48-49. I think SGC wrote 48-49 on here. Also sort of considered a rookie card. Short print, tough to find. This one's not bad. You can tell if you look at it closely, there's a crease on it, and the color's faded a little bit. But it presents pretty well. I mean, the centering's way off, but it's a 1. So what do you expect? So that's the beginning of the Spawn collection. I got some other stuff with the Braves. Just a couple more things, and then we can move on. This is a picture of him in Braves Field. It is it has the name of the photographer on the back. So it's a media photo. I'm not sure if it's type 1 or not. I'm never quite sure what type 1 really means. But another fantastic photograph of Spawn in Boston doing the windup, and love that one. And then one more before we move on, which is the 1948 Braves, who won the pennant. So 47, he comes back. He's okay. 48, he's really good. He and Johnny Sain led the staff, but there were 5 left-handed pitchers. And in spring training, they all did this little posed photo where they all threw the ball, and the photo is taken. You see Spawn is right. He's right second from the left right there. So love that photo too. I'm sorry. One more thing. 48 World Series ticket. Can never talk about Spawn without pulling out this one. This I purchased at the Philly show. Pulled it out of a box of random tickets. Didn't know if it was real or not, so I sent it off to PSA. And in fact, 1948 World Series Game 2, Indians versus Braves, Lemon versus Spawn. So this is a game, Spawn's first World Series appearance, 1948 at Braves Field. So that's a little taste of the Spawn Boston Braves collection.
Yeah, because that's really nice. A great find right there.
It was a total find. It was just luck, really. Hilarious how lucky you can be.
On your 49 Leaf there, if you covered up the grade, I wouldn't have guessed it was a 1.
Yeah, if you look closely at it, there is a crease. I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to get the right light, but there is a crease on it, and there's a tiny little bit of paper loss down here on the bottom. So it's pretty well worn. One is a fair grade on it.
Is that a short print? Is that why
Yep.
it's kind of hard to find? Okay.
Yep. That one cost me, I don't know, somewhere between 150 and $200 like 5 years ago. So it was not cheap.
Well, I think that's a gorgeous card, so I might be looking at that at the National then.
Well, I guess, Strongsville, we saw Craig, Midlife Cards, buy a really gorgeous mid-grade version of that card, and he got a nice deal on it, and just beautiful presentation on that card. So they're out there. You just got to look for them, have the eye for them.
Yeah, because Matt, you're looking for that card too, aren't you?
Yeah, that's actually on my want list for Cleveland at the Nationals, to find one of those in a really good condition. But yeah, you're right. Craig's
Okay.
was really well centered. It was a 3 or 4, I can't remember the grade, but the centering was perfect. So that's what I'm looking for, something like that.
Okay. So still in Boston. So I guess you're who's up next?
I guess that would be me. Yeah, the last Boston. But yeah, my name's Craig Campbell, big Eddie Matthews collector, and the one thing I have here to show, it's actually a newspaper magazine of Eddie Matthews with the Boston Braves. And the thing that's so neat about it, you can see he's a pretty good sized fella, real thick. He wasn't super muscular, but he just was a big bodied guy, and he was just they call him a thick player, and he was a real wrist hitter. And the thing about Matthews, what's so interesting is his grandfather was a baseball player, played with Rogers Hornsby in the Texas leagues, and decided that he wasn't making enough money as a baseball player and became a railroad engineer. And that's what I am. I'd much rather be a baseball player than a railroad engineer, but that was a different time. But Matthews ended up growing out to Long Beach, California, where he grew up, and his dad was a telegraph operator during World War II. Sent a lot of message from California, over to Hawaii, to Japan. His dad was a great baseball fan, loved baseball, and he trained Eddie Matthews as a youngster. Just played so much ball with him, and Matthews got better and better. And he was a heck of a high school football player. But as he got into high school and he started playing across California and the Southwest, they started to notice this guy can pound the ball. And all of a sudden, scouts, he was like 16 years old, and the baseball scouts started coming to California. And all through his high school years, I think almost every team was scouting him. And his dad, having that baseball acumen, knew that the Boston Braves were probably the place to go because their third base situation was the thinnest, going forward. And Matthews was tempted to sign as a bonus baby. And but then by doing that, he would have had to have stayed on the major league roster, which just that short-circuited so many careers for young players because they just were not ready for Major League Baseball. And so that his family really tempered him back and said, no, you need to sign for the $6,000 and you're going to make money eventually. And so Matthews, it was at his prom, and they were at a motel, and his dad was over at another motel, and all the agents, all the scouts were all out in the lobby waiting for midnight to sign him. And Eddie Matthews and his high school date, they snuck out the back door of the prom, went to another motel. He signed a contract with the Boston Braves. And they came back to the prom, and all the scouts were like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Because he was like really one of the premium players that, he was something else. And he had a good glove, but his arm was terrible. As far as his motion, getting rid of the ball. And the funny story, he went to Chicago. They gave him a train ticket. He went to Chicago. They were playing the Cubs, and he took batting practice that one day, and there was a guy throwing batting practice, just throwing slop. And he made Matthews look like a fool. And Eddie was so dejected. He said, one of the veteran players said, don't worry, kid, someday you're going to eat that guy for lunch. And so he went off to the minor leagues and had a pretty good career in the minors only for a year or so. He actually went in the Navy in 1951, and he got out on a hardship case because his dad had tuberculosis and was really in bad shape. And so he got out in 51 on a discharge from the Navy. And so his minor league career was really short-circuited. They brought him up to the major leagues in 52, and the rest is history. And, he was people were like amazed at his hitting ability and just the massive shots he was hitting. the contact was unbelievable. Ted Williams supposedly heard him hit the ball in spring training, and he was in the back in the kind of the tunnel, and he come out and said, "Who hit that ball?" Because of the sound of the contact was so sharp, and so Matthews was just a heck of a player. He came into Boston, he was like their savior, because they had won the World Series in '47, but they were really struggling, and Matthews was like a guy that people wanted to come see, and he was kind of their savior, him and Spawn, and I don't have the 52 tops, of course. With his Boston days, but this 53 Bowman here is one that I just recently picked up with the Boston Braves, and I just love this card. Just there's so much about this, just so fantastic. The centering on this is really well, and I just love the bat on the shoulder pose, and you can see the flag up above the bat. And this is just one of my favorite cards, and I was happy that I waited to find the right card. And so yeah, Matthews, he was a big deal in Boston, and he only played there for 2 years, and then they went to Milwaukee. So
what year did they go to Milwaukee again?
I think they went in 53.
53.
53, yeah. So he played really 1 year in Boston, went to Milwaukee, which was a great move for him because Boston was, the Braves were just going nowhere. But as we get further into the story, you'll see kind of going to Milwaukee kind of led to a long-term problem that he had that he suffered with for the rest of his life. Probably short-circuited his career, I think, a little bit. But we can get into that. So,
Yep.
So that's Matthews and his Boston days.
All right. So now we're after Boston. Now we're going into Milwaukee and stuff. So, Matt, you want to start it off with Milwaukee and Aaron?
Sure. I don't have all the knowledge about Aaron that looks. I mean, obviously Craig's very well versed in all the Matthews backstory, so I know enough to be dangerous. But we'll go through a little bit of it, and we'll go to Milwaukee. So Aaron obviously finished high school, grew up in Mobile, Alabama, born in '34. He tried out for the Dodgers, didn't make the team, and then he went to play for the Indianapolis Clowns. He was in the Negro Leagues. He was only in the Negro Leagues for 1 month. He actually hit 5 home runs, but it wouldn't have been enough to pass Bonds, even if they counted those stats at this point. He's still been 2 shy, right? So they stopped counting. I think at 51, but so he played in 52. Then 52, I think, and then 53 was in the minors, right? That's right. And then in 54, everyone knows Bobby Thompson's story. Shot heard around the world, right? Mm-hmm. Well, for a little bit of a lucky break, no pun intended, for Hank Aaron, in spring training in mid-March of 54. Bobby Thompson broke his leg, right? And so that freed up a spot for Aaron in the lineup. And so they were trying to keep him in the minors a little bit longer, let him develop more, but they took the opportunity to bring him up. And so he came in the league in 54. And that first season, a lot of people don't know, but he wore number 5 instead of 44. So one of the cards I really like is the Johnston Cookies from 1954. People consider like one of his alternate rookie cards. And in that year, they created the cards. They used the jersey number as the card number, so that's why he had the number 5 that year in that set, rather than his 44. That's the jersey he wore that year. So this is a really fun set. This is local Milwaukee cookie manufacturer. They make cards from 53 to 55. I know for Dan, like Spawn's lucky he's in all 3 sets, which is great. I believe Matthews is as well, right? So Aaron's not in the 53, but this is a great run of cards. Milwaukee had some of the best regional cards. I feel like we're spoiled for all of our players because they're either in the spick and span sets, which I think a couple of us have some of those as well. So here's also from 54 to 56 is a postcard of Hank Aaron. This is the also considered a rookie card to some people. I'm not sure I would say it is, but you can't see his jersey number in the back here. So. But yeah, I mean, all the regional sets, which I know we're going to probably see more of those from other folks in a minute, but they just did a really good job. And they're my favorite cards of Aaron and some of these regional issues that they just happened to kind of almost fall into in the Milwaukee area, right? So Aaron came in the league, and then he got injured partway through his season. He actually finished 5th in the Rookie of the Year voting. He didn't win Rookie of the Year. He wasn't even close. He played like 2/3 of the year. And like obviously, like eventually he was really good, but I do feel like Matthews protected him a little bit, right? Because Matthews was getting all the attention, right? So he was supposed to be the big home run hitter in Milwaukee. Hank was kind of able to use that as a little bit of a buffer the first few years, I think, until he got to be kind of overshadow Matthews, over time, right? As he kind of continued to be very consistently good. But I think that helped a little bit to kind of, as he was still really young coming into the league, right? He was 20 when he started. Because he didn't turn 20. Yeah, February of 54 would have been 20 years old. So he was super young coming into the league as well. Like a lot of the guys back then. Kalen was 19 even, right? Won a batting title. So it wasn't uncommon to go straight into the majors like it is now. People go like 20, 24, 25 a lot of times starting off their rookie year, right? So, but I mean, this is the big card for Hank that year. We can then pass it over to maybe back to Dan for a minute. But this is the 54 tops. I love this card. Love the orange background. I think this is the one. This card actually won like the most favorite, I guess, Hall of Fame rookie from the 50s thing that For Collectors did, right? So love the back on these as well. But yeah, I mean, really nice card. I mean, really blessed to have one. Picked this up for that Detroit Collections Aaron back in 2022. So love to maybe upgrade at some point, but for now it's a good copy. I may even actually cross it at this year's National PSA if I can get out of the CSG green flip. But yeah, I mean, Aaron obviously went on to have a great career. We'll go into more, but I'll give back to Dan for a couple of years to go through Spawn. Spawn really amped up as he got older. He got better with age.
Well, CSG was actually grading very strongly back then. Like that might cross over to, PSA 3. If they're honest about it, or maybe
that's what I'm hoping. Yeah, the obviously the centering top to bottom's atrocious, right? There's almost no bottom border, right?
Well,
so
54 tops is like that.
Yeah, it's probably 95.5. So it's pretty bad. There's like no border to speak of at the bottom. You can barely see a white line.
Oh yeah, okay. It's usually the other way around. The name is
so, and then there is some snow up here above his name. But yeah, other than that, it's really really clean. Like the corners are actually pretty darn sharp. So yeah, we'll see. It's probably worth the fee to try to cross it just to have it in a better holder.
Yeah, mine's.
Did you get that raw, Matt?
And this one's got rounded corners and some little bit of creasing in the corners, but it's a 2 and it presents well. So I'm happy. I don't feel like I need to upgrade it anytime soon. But getting back to Spawn,
here's mine. Here's mine.
Same here, yeah, right.
I haven't shown this that much. This is not one of those cards that shows on my channel very often. So Dave, you gave me a chance to show off a card that I'm very happy with and don't.
Well, I appreciate you showing it off on my channel then.
Yeah.
Getting back to Spot, so they moved from Boston to Milwaukee in the spring of '53, and so both Topps and Bowman have them in Boston uniforms in the cards. So when I love this card too. This is a card I hardly ever show off. Also, it's the '53 Topps. I think it's Alex Bowman 53 has said he doesn't really like those, close-ups of Spawn's face on the 52. But this one, so he looks pretty handsome in this one, certainly compared to the way he looks in the 60s.
Yeah.
But the point is, when you get to when they get to Milwaukee, they're playing 53 Milwaukee. Neither Topps nor Bowman has Milwaukee on the card. So Johnston's Cookies, 53 Johnston's Cookies, is the first cards made for the Braves wearing Milwaukee uniforms. So these were probably released some point in the middle of the summer. I'm not sure exactly when they were released, but it was certainly after they moved to Milwaukee and got in their uniforms and had enough time for photographs to be taken and cards to be produced. And these are very nice cards. I mean, the backs, Matt showed you the back before. I mean, really nice backs. This is Topps quality. It's a really quality card. So Hank is not in the 53 because he wasn't on the team yet, but I know Greg showed off one of these. And so that Spawn also has a 54, which we saw they're a little bit different shape. They're sort of taller and thinner, but these are also really nice cards. And the backs are very similar to the backs from the 53s, but it's just a little bit of a different shape. And this one, as you can see, I bought this raw on I don't know which auction house it was, really cheap, and it got the 4, which I was very happy. So really love this card too. He's got the ball and the smile and the Braves uniform. So
because I noticed on the 54 that they put the jersey number as a number on the card, and he's number 10 on the 53.
Yeah, 21 is his number.
Yeah, but on
That-
50 on the
that's the
53,
number.
it shows as
That's
10.
53. Yeah, I don't think he's number 10, so I don't think they did that jersey number thing with the 53, but they did do it, as we know, the 54 because he's number 21. So
Did they do it with the 55?
good question. I do not have the 55. I do not have any 55 Johnson's cookies because they're really hard to find and really expensive. And truth be told, I didn't know that they even existed until recently. There was an auction with a bunch of them raw. I think it was, I forget which auction house it was, but they went really, really high. So Matt also mentioned the spick and span. This, frankly, is one of my favorite cards because of this freaking windup. This photograph, I don't know, the photographer must have been on the ground or something, looking up, and you can see the bottom of his shoe as he's lifting up his right leg with the ball all the way down practically on the ground. So this is this is 54 to 56 is what it says on the PSA label, but I'm not sure if this has a year. I think it's 54, to be honest with you. But
So
that's
how many different items did Spick and Span do for the Braves?
Matt's a better person to ask. Yeah.
So I did see on that one Facebook page, there's like a 54 set I didn't know existed. And it's actually slightly different than the one, I think that one dry cleaning bag that you have, Craig, that we'll probably see hopefully later, but like the card from later. But so there's 7 sets plus that dry cleaning bag is like an 8th item. And the Spawn's in everything. He's in every single one. So good luck, Dan. No, I'm kidding. It's a fun hunt. So that's awesome. He's in everything.
As you
right?
know, I am never going to own the complete Spawn run because some of his cards, I just don't like them. So
no, I know. I'm teasing.
In
But yeah,
particular,
the Spick and Span are all great. Every one of his Spick and
yeah,
Span
that's
is beautiful.
true. That's true. But I'll get them eventually. I got a couple more things. I'll wait. We'll go back to Craig and we'll come back to me. I got a couple more cool things to show from my Spawn collection. But we can wait.
It's on to you, Craig.
All right. Well, hey, I'm on cue and perfect pass over there, Dan, because the Eddie Matthews, the 53 Johnson cookies, and his number on the back happens to be Warren Spawn's 21. So he had 21. But yeah, this is a special card to me because Matt gave it to me at Strongsville as a gift, and I just really cherish this card a lot because the first time I met Matt, and I'm just so thankful for this card. Just a really nice addition. I appreciate it, Matt, a whole lot.
You're very welcome. Yeah, I'm glad you like it.
It's the first issue of them in Milwaukee.
Yep.
And which is important. And I'm also a big magazine collector, and you can see this one's kind of cool because it's got Matthews up top, the 53 home run leader. And then you've also got Warren Spahn, who was tied for the ERA lead in 53. So I'm sorry about it being backwards, but I like to collect magazine.
It's not backwards.
Okay. It looked like it was for me, but I love that. And then this is really cool. This is the class of 54. And if you take a look at the names on there, you've got Matthews and Pee Wee Reese, Willie Mays, Hank Bauer, just a lot of big names on there. So I picked this up also. And I found a guy who just had a lot of baseball stuff from magazines, which was really cool. And one last one of a magazine. And Eddie was not known for his glove, but I just really like this, to get the Eddie Matthews glove, which is just really, really cool. So I do enjoy picking that stuff up. And one more magazine. This is the sport cover here. And I got to thank Drew, Vintage Legacy Drew, for kind of turning me on to some magazines. But love that picture with him with the bat over his shoulder.
That is awesome. I've never seen that one.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I
must have missed your video.
For Matthews, when they came to Milwaukee, and Eddie was a pretty good looking guy. He was a young guy, and they were just over the moon with the Braves when they got to Milwaukee. And what was the biggest industry in Milwaukee? Beer. And the Miller Brewing Company executive, he was instrumental in helping get the Braves there. And so they called it the High Life, Miller High Life. And everywhere they went, they were celebrities. They were giving them cars and suits and steak dinners and just anything, And Matthews could not go anywhere in Milwaukee without just people clamoring for him. And he started to see guys like Bob Buell and Warren Spahn and some of the older guys that had families. And he longed so much to be able just to go home to a family. Instead, he was going home to a motel room. And he had to wait and leave the stadium like 2 to 3 hours after the game because people were just flocking to him. And we all think it's kind of neat to have that type of life, but after playing the ball game and just not being able to go anywhere without people jumping on you was just really, really difficult. And Warren Spahn was a drinker, Bob Buell, Lou Burdett, and Eddie started drinking, and he started drinking a lot. And he kind of lost himself into that high life. And he got a drunk driving ticket in like 1954. He was notoriously known as a guy that was always fighting all the time on the road. He'd go to Pittsburgh and get into fights. He'd show up at the ball game with a black eye and a busted lip and hungover. And it just kind of became his life, like throughout 54, 55, 56. And it really cost him in 56 when he kind of should have made the play against the Cardinals, which would have got them into the World Series, but he kind of made a bad play. And that they fired the manager, and the guy said the high life is over, and that's kind of what led him to be in 57 and 58 in the World Series. But, Eddie really struggled with alcohol. And this is probably one of my favorite cards here, this beautiful 1955. Just a great card. And there's not a whole lot graded higher than this. And I'm not really a big grade guy, but just the quality of this card is just really fantastic. And I love the fact that it's got the fielding pose, when Matthews was so well known for his bat, but he just, he was a very streaky hitter. And he would challenge, like he would just go on these massive streaks where he would just hit 20 home runs in a month, and then he would go into these really cold streaks where he just couldn't do nothing. And this is another great card here, and I got to thank Matt again for this one, but this is a Bill and Bob postcard, and I love the pose on that. I love that you got the Braves logo on the sleeve, and just the real good stride of hitting the ball, and just a fantastic postcard. And I got to thank Matt because these are pretty hard to come by. And Matt tipped me off to this. And so I really, that's one of my favorite pieces. I just love the vibrant colors on that. But, Eddie was a great player during the 50s, which is interesting. Duke Snider hit the most home runs in the decade of the 50s. I think he had 326. Then Gil Hodges was after that. Then Eddie Matthews. But Matthews didn't start playing until 52. So Snider and Hodges had 2 years on him, and he ended up hitting 299 during the 1950s. So, and I think again, Snider had 326. So, Matthews was really the power hitter of the National League in the 50s. And, Hank Aaron certainly eclipses him, but you can see like in 57, Hank was such a great average, hitting for average and just a tough out, and Matthews was more of that free swinging bomber, and he would lead the league in walks like 4 times. So he did have a good eye. And part of it was guys didn't want to pitch to him. They'd rather pitch to the guy that followed, his name escapes me right now, but Joe Adcock. They'd rather pitch to Adcock than to Matthews, because he was just a dangerous, clutch power hitter. But, and so Eddie, he struggled in the 57 World Series. He did hit a home run. And in the 58 World Series, he struck out like unbelievable. Like his World Series numbers were terrible in 58. And in his book, he does talk about really freezing up in Game 7. I think there was somebody on base. It was Game 6 or Game 7 towards the end of the game, and he couldn't get the bat off his shoulder. He kind of locked up, and he admitted to that. And but a great player, but he certainly had his struggles, throughout the 50s. And him and Aaron, like in 57, 8, 9, they were pretty much, side by side as far as performance. Aaron was a much better hitter. But then after really 60s, when Aaron just kind of, became the man. And they had a really interesting relationship, Matthews and Aaron. And Matthews was close with Warren Spahn. And because they like to drink together. But, him and Aaron had kind of a interesting relationship. They respected each other. Yeah, I love Matthew's story. And real quick, I'm sorry. And then I just want to show the Heartland statue that I picked up here. This is one of the originals, and this bad boy is nice. I mean, it is really, really sharp, and just a fantastic piece. And I also have the Babe Ruth one with me, but I didn't want to bring that with me tonight. But there's a Warren Spawn that I had a chance to get, and I couldn't pick it up. So, but that's kind of Matthews through the 50s.
Okay. I guess now on to you now, Matt.
Okay.
More?
There's always more, Dave.
There's always more. There's always more.
more.
You guys are making me want to like buy stuff, and
We got to show this one, right? I know we didn't go far from you. I'm still in 55 here with the Spigots fan, but this is probably one of my favorite cards for sure in my collection, right? So I guess it's a card, it's a die cut, right? But so they issued this in 1955 only. But this you can actually like put this insert over here, and then like it would stand up on your desk or on your table or whatever, right? You can actually have it displayed. There aren't a ton of these that survived, obviously, right? So there's that one. Yeah, but I mean, Aaron, like you said, was a very consistent hitter in the 50s. Probably bad. I don't know the exact number, but probably somewhere like 315, 320 for the decade. Because he had a little lower in the 60s and ended up at 305 total, right? So some of my other favorite cards, I guess, in the 50s. I don't have the Bill and Bob for Aaron. I'm looking for it. It's one of the ones I still need. Like 5 cards in the 50s I still need to get for Aaron. But one of the cards a couple of years, this is after they won the World Series, is the 58 Hires.
Yeah, wow.
This is the one that's with no tab. So there's one that's got the tab that went in the root beer 6-pack. But again, another like food issue. They also did the same thing where the jersey number was the card number from the set, which is really cool. So that's a fun one because like the knot hole. I don't know. I just feel like a kid when I look at this card, right? It's a really good picture. Kind of like the 55 Bowman picture. I like both of those pictures a lot. And then let me see. One more. I guess
the thing on the Hires root beer thing that I heard is that the knot hole was a Bowman design for like
56 Bowman.
Yep.
You're 100% right. It was going to be the 56 Bowman issue, and then Topps bought him out. So and nixed that. But then this is from the World Series year of 57. I skipped it on accident. This is against Pickett's fan, but it's a really cool picture from when they won the World Series. Obviously, Hank won his only MVP that year. It's crazy too. I don't think he had any second place finishes. Like his whole career was very consistent, but he only won once, and then that was really it in terms of you hear about Trout winning 3 and being like in the top 5. I don't know 7 times, whatever it is, or 8 or 9, maybe 8 out of 9 seasons or something crazy. I would argue the 50s talent in the NL is unmatched, though, in terms of you got Mays, you got Aaron. I mean, just Banks, etc. Right? But and obviously some great pitching to go against.
Is that blank back, Matt?
What's that?
Is that a blank back?
Oh yeah, this one's a blank back that year. There's no slogan. The slogan's just right there in the front that year. It just says best of luck. Thank you.
That is such a gorgeous picture. Like that is just outstanding.
Yeah, he looks super happy, right? It's a really good image. Like telling you, these regional issues kind of put Topps and Bowman, or at least Topps, to shame in my mind, right? So, and then a couple of my favorite. Go ahead.
I'm saying like those regional stuff like can put both Topps and Bowman to shame in photos.
I was going to say on that regional issue, I mean, Milwaukee was because they were just in on this love fest with the Braves in the 50s, and that's why all those regionals just like blew up everywhere. For the Braves, like Matt said earlier, there's just so many of these oddball regional sets out of Milwaukee, but it was that love affair with the Braves.
Yep. And then this is another one that I really enjoy. In 59, this was the first year of the Bazooka cards. So this would have been cut from the back of a Bazooka gum box where you might get like 20 pieces of gum. These are blank back. Mine's got some fun writing. The person that sold this at one point gave a set of 8 of these cards for $1. So you can tell this was probably sold a long, long time ago. And this is kind of how they sell postcards too. Like they'll write on the back, usually with pencil, not pen. But for this set, I was just happy to have a copy because these are pretty tough to find. And then I got to show the last one for the 50s, and then I'll show my statue too. Is the Home Run Derby. This is got to be in the top 5 of my favorite cards. So this was these say 59. The show actually aired in 1960 in the summer. We obviously, or a lot of us probably watched it on ESPN in the late 80s. And then these are all now on YouTube as well. You can watch the replay of all these. Hank did super well. He went 6-1 on this. And then eventually lost. I think it was Wally Post, or I can't remember who it was. Anyway, he lost eventually, but he won the most money on the show. Mantle hit more home runs, and obviously it was kind of a fan favorite. But Aaron did himself very well. Did everyone proud there in the home run derby. And then lastly, I also have one of the. I bought this when I was in Chicago last year with Dave at a card shop. This is the Harlan statue for Aaron. Like these are really nice. I don't, mine doesn't stand up though, so I have to oh no, it doesn't actually. It stands up. That's good. I'm just afraid to have it knock over and the bat breaks. The bats on these are super sensitive, and so the bat breaks. I don't know. I want to keep it authentic, or as authentic as I can. They sell replacement bats, but I want to keep it legitimate. So I always just have it on the side. It kind of defeats the purpose, but I enjoy having it. But yeah, Aaron had a great run in the 50s. Got the World Series win, got the MVP. They obviously came up short 58 again in 7 games, but he did really well in the series. If it wasn't for Spawn getting sick for Game 7 and Burdette getting that 3rd win, which obviously they needed, and it was more important than MVP, he might have won the World Series MVP because he had 3 homers, 11 RBIs, batted nearly 400. So he did really well in the World Series in 57. But yeah, Spawn was sick for Game 7, so Burdette went out there and won another game. He won 3 of the 4 games, which is great, right? So.
The interesting thing about the Braves, at least from my opinion, to close out the 50s, I think they legitimately 54, 55, 6, 7, 8, 9, even into 60, they should have won more. I mean, the Dodgers were great in 55, no doubt about it, but the Braves were right there with them. And then, 56, they blew it. 58, they blew the series against the Yankees. The Yankees were a great team, obviously, but they were up 3-1. And then 59, they kind of fell flat. They lost a 3-game playoff, I think, to the Dodgers because they tied. And again, just when you read the story about them, that they really let some really potential World Series rings kind of go away, and a lot of it had to do with alcohol. It's hard to say, but it's the truth. I mean, some of their players were real heavy drinkers, and they just it was tough. But I mean, from that 54 to 60 window, they were dominant. They had pitching, they had hitting, they had it all. I mean,
yep.
So I wanted to show off a couple more oddball-ish cards. This is the 1954 Red Heart, a set that I am now officially building since I finished my Burke Ross set. And I got this at the Philly show as a 7. This is one of those cards that I got after the boom online, but before dealers at shows figured out that there had been a boom online. So this one I got for some ridiculously low price. I don't know, like $100 or something, and it's a 7. And then I got this. Cost me $14. It is the Sports Illustrated 19, let's see, what's the date? June 25th, 1956. It's the only graded magazine that I own. I'm trying to get it so the glare isn't so bad. But it's, the classic Spawn wind-up. Yeah. It's like before the leg goes up, with the arms coming all the way back. And it's a 4. I don't care. I mean, it's got the address label here, and it's got some scuffs up here. It doesn't matter to me. It's a beautiful, beautiful cover. That cost me, like I said, $14. So.
Awesome.
And I got a couple of, since Craig was nice enough to show the cards or card that he got from Matt at Strongsville. I got this from Matt at Strongsville along with a couple other things, which I've been trying to find in the boxes, but I have so much stuff I don't know where it is. Anyway, this is a beautiful bazooka from 66, 67, which every time I show it on my channel, it's like the 3rd time I've shown it, people go crazy over it. So thank you, Matt, for that wonderful welcome. But something else I got in Strongsville that I got on my own, which I think Matt, may have actually been with me at the point when I bought this. It's the 55 double play. I bought a raw for about $160, I think. And it graded a 2, which I'm really happy about, which puts it in the range of about $300 to $325 in terms of value at this point. But it doesn't matter. It's going to be in my collection forever. And it's just a fantastic photo. Not a photo, it's a drawing from a photo of the classic Hank swing. And so I really have sort of grown to really appreciate these cards. Getting a
Hey, Dan,
spawn, getting the spawn is the next one of these that I'm going to be getting. The double.
was that seller like in the back left-hand side of the arena at Strongsville? The very
Yep.
Yeah, I remember looking. He had a lot of nice 55 double
Well, he got
headers
the.
that were raw.
I got the two really obscure Al Rosen pieces from him.
Okay. He had some nice stuff.
I got this. I also got a Sweet Cap pin, 1910 Sweet Cap pin of Jack Quinn. So I got a bunch of like kind of really oddball stuff from him at really good prices, and you don't see that stuff normally,
No.
you know.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be at the National, don't you think? He had a pretty.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a Cleveland guy, so you would think.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna look him up because he had a lot of those double headers, and I really have been drawn to them.
His price on the spawn, it was raw, and I think his price on the spawn was a little high. I tried to negotiate with him, but I couldn't get it. So it's one of the
firm
things
on a few things.
Yeah.
That's like that double header. Those fantastic. And you sent that in for grading, right? You bought
Correct.
that wrong.
Yeah. I thought it was. I had absolutely certain it was going to get a 1.5, and I got a 2.
Yeah.
So
that was a great pickup. Great
Yeah.
pickup.
Really happy with that.
Yeah.
So that's all I have. I have other cards, a lot of other cards, but that's all I took out.
Okay. And then, Craig, do you got anything else on Matthew's stuff with you?
I do. We're moving into the 60s, right?
Yeah, I think we just finished up the 50s, and then we can roll right into the 60s.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite cards from the 60s is this stand-up card, the 64 stand-up short print, Eddie Matthews. And I love these. The more I look at them, the more I like them. And
it looks like he's not holding a bat. Like he looks like he's holding a bat. You can see the bat.
Right. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, this is a short print. They're pretty. I mean, you can find them, but they're a little bit pricey because they're short prints. But I just really, really love that 64 stand-up. Fantastic piece. And then I recently got this. I'm probably going to get it graded, and it's a Challenge the Yankees. It was a game card made by Hasbro in 1964, and so it was a Hasbro issue, and you got points for the game. I've seen the box. I have no idea how to play the game. It's just a really neat piece, and I picked that up on eBay. And so I'm going to probably get this graded and see what it comes out to. And then this is probably my favorite piece that I've picked up recently, and I just absolutely love this Dexter Press Eddie Matthews issue. The colors are just so vibrant, and with that early Astros uniform, it is just, man, it is a beautiful piece. And the story on this, I had it on my eBay save searches for a long time, and never came across one, and one popped up, and I double checked the back to make sure there's some numbers on the back to make sure it was legit, and it was. And I was drinking my morning coffee, and I'm so glad I made the snap decision to buy it. And I think out the door, shipping, tax, everything was like $20. And this is hard to come by. And so I'm
what year did he go to the Astros?
He went to the Astros in 66, I think. Yeah, because his card, 66, he got traded to the Astros. The Braves kind of did him dirty because he found out through the media that he'd been traded, which was just, the Braves were kind of dirty the way they did that to him, I think. And he went to the Astros, and he hit 500 home runs. He hit his 500th with the Astros. He's the only member of the 500 club to hit his 500th off of a Hall of Famer. He hit it off of Juan Marichal. And so that's kind of a neat little trivia thing. But, they did him kind of dirty. They traded him off to the Astros. By this point in time, alcohol was really starting to ravage his body, and he had some back issues, and he knew he had a problem with alcohol at this point, but he just couldn't get away from it, and he was just a heavy drinker. And so he's with the Astros, and he got traded to the Detroit Tigers, and they finished up, and he won the 68 World Series with the Tigers. Of course, he was kind of at that point in time, he's pretty much done, but he did get to start game 4 of the Detroit Tigers game against Bob Gibson. And that was kind of his swan song for his career. And but he just really from the 50s to about 62 or 3, he was just unbelievable. But then it just, he got into his early 30s, smoking, alcohol, injuries, and just the erosion was really significant. And as far as what's kind of interesting, like with a trivia question, Matthews and Aaron, they hit the most home runs combined as teammates, which is really interesting. Most people think, well, it was Ruth and Gehrig, but Matthews and Aaron hit more home runs. Then it's Ruth and Gehrig, and then Mays and McCovey for home runs as teammates. And they both pretty much carried the equal share. I think Aaron, my notes, he had 442, and then Matthews had 421 as teammates. So they were pretty even. And I did see Denny McClain at a card show, and Denny, the 31 game winner. And I did ask him about Matthews, and McClain is McClain, what I mean. But I asked him about Matthews because he was with them on the '68 team. He said, "Oh, he was used up by then." He said when he was drunk, he was an asshole, But he said when he was sober, he was a great guy. Well, I look back, and Matthews was the manager of the Braves in '72 and '3, and McClain was traded to the Braves, and then Matthews cut him. So I imagine for McClain, there's probably some severe bias against Eddie Matthews.
Denny McClain is not the most reliable narrator.
No, he's not. I saw him at a show in Pittsburgh, and he's probably late 70s, maybe. His claim to fame is the last 31 game or the last 30 game winner, and that's he's rode those coattails for years on the autograph circuit. And more power to him. But he was a very overweight and just looked like he was looking for the exits. He wanted to get out of there, but he didn't have much nice to say about Matthews. But I will say this: Al Kaline was very supportive of Matthews being on that team, as bringing that veteran presence, because they had a lot of issues with their manager, Mayo Smith, I believe it was.
Smith.
Matthews came in midseason and said, "Hey, you guys, you want to win this, we got to get together and stay together." And so he had that voice as that big veteran, that came in and really kind of had Al Kaline's back, even though they were two polar opposites character-wise, because Kaline was Mr. Clean. But so that's the Matthews story. And I do have something for like his post-career too here. So I don't know if you want
did
to
they make a card with Matthews in a Tigers uniform?
Yeah, the '68 card.
68.
Yeah,
Really?
his final card.
How do I not know that? Like,
yeah.
You should
He
have
got
that
traded.
one.
He only hit 3 home runs that year for him. He was largely the last guy off the bench, but he just had that veteran leadership, and which is pretty cool. So
didn't even know he played for the Tigers then. Jeez.
Yeah, and then he won that World Series, which was kind of the bookend. A good way to go out, a good way to finish your career being a World Series champ. You can say you never lost your last game, which is cool.
Yeah, because I remember reading the Hank Aaron book and talking about Matthews coming back and managing the team and stuff. So, no.
Mm-hmm. And do you want me to talk now about some of his post-career stuff or play days?
You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Like, you guys are the subject matter experts on these players. I'm just learning.
Found one more card.
I'll tell you what. I'll pass to Matt, and then I'll come back. I got some post-career stuff, which is kind of interesting.
Okay.
For Matthew.
I had this handy. Dan mentioned this card. Hopefully you get one, Dan. This is the Spawn doubleheader that you're looking for.
Oh man.
So I didn't pull my Aaron one, but I happened to pull that. I just happened to be the stack. I pulled a couple Spawn cards in case you. I had a feeling you may not want to show a ton of 60 stuff, so I have a couple items to show on your behalf. I hope that's okay.
Is that kind of a recent pickup, Matt, or have you had that for a while?
Late last year, maybe. I think I had it when I was on Dan's. We did the show with Theo, I think, but maybe not. This is a nice picture for the 60s. Dan, I'm not sure when it was taken, but Baseball Magazine was only like a magazine for like 5 months, and they issued these pretty large, it's like 8x10 or whatever the size is, right? But they're pretty large. Yeah. I'm lucky. I have the Aaron as well from this set. These are pretty tough to find, but it's a decent picture of him, considering he's this, I guess it'd be 42 when this was issued. Yeah. 63 Baseball Magazine is the M116 set.
Okay.
Here's the Aaron from this set. These are pretty. There's just a few of these graded total, like between the BGS SGC and PSA, maybe 3 or 4 of each player. So these are pretty tough to find. Lucky to have both of them. And I know, I'm not sure if you have, this is the one you pull. If it is, I apologize. I don't think this is a bad picture. I don't know. Maybe he's old. I know he's older, right? But I like these Topps Giants. Maybe you don't like it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all right.
I like that it has the 350
like
win in the
those.
back too.
Yeah.
So I had that one out for you, and then, but obviously Aaron kept playing. He played all the way to 76, right? So I'll try to speed it up a little bit. So let me show a couple of my favorites, I guess, right? So I really like the where's that? Like the bazookas. So I have some panels. I have some boxes. I'll show one of the panels with Aaron. This is the 63. It's tough though because the same 3 players are at card 7, 8, 9, both at 63 or 64, and so the only way to tell the difference is the glove is either to the center or to the right for Aaron. But I think this one's labeled right. I have a loose or individual card that's labeled the wrong year by SGC. So further proof Mangini is always right about the grading companies and being not being infallible. But this is one of the other. I like the post. I know we didn't show any postcards yet. I don't think. Lucky to get this from Stukes. He found this at the Dallas Card Show. We went last May. He found it raw, and I sent it in for grading. But I think this might be the only, maybe 1 or 2. There's only a couple of these that have been graded, but there's 6 players on your total. Bill White's obviously on there. Should get in the Hall eventually, probably here at some point. But these are really nice. I like that. That's from 61. So I think he hit 568. I think it's the year he passed 500, and then. Trying to think of some other oddball issues I got handy here. Obviously, in 71, he'd have been well past that at that point. This is the Milk Dud box from 71. Not the great, like if you cut out the card, I think the card, I don't know, it's not very, I like these complete boxes. I don't know why. Like I imagine some kid getting the Milk Duds, and like you'd think there'd be a lot of staining, but there's not. So these are pretty nice. Another one that's interesting that I finally got, I've been looking for this one, and now I know why they don't grade these anymore. Is these in 71 Mattel did these little records. So TSA doesn't grade these anymore. Like I said, it's dual sided. There's a single sided one I have like on raw or whatever the word is, I guess, or ungraded. But if you look at the slab, it's like multi-layer. I think that's why I stopped doing it. I've never seen a slab like this in my life. I'm not sure if you can tell from the image.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of wonky, right? So like it's weird the way they slab this in there. I guess try to protect it from moving around, but they don't grade those anymore. So I thought that was interesting one to show. And then I like a little bit. You guys know me. I like all the oddball stuff.
I don't think you ever showed that before, Matt. Like I've never.
That was a new pickup. That's a world premiere.
Okay.
I feel
Like,
bad.
I
I forgot to grab
remember
the Manny's Land Spawn I got recently, but I forgot to grab it out of the box. It's still in the bubble wrap. I'm bad about opening mail if you guys haven't heard. This is the Manny's Land Aaron though from 61. This is a local, like across from like the Yankee Stadium. There was like a sporting goods store, right? For lack of a better description, this guy, he would sell like large photos or cards of the various teams. They come in team sets of like 10 cards per team. So there's a Matthews, there's a Spawn. I got the Spawn recently. It's actually autographed. I should have pulled
But
it out.
that image looks like it's from 54.
Yeah, he's definitely younger. This is a late 50s. It's like probably mid to late 50s photo. He's definitely younger. But there's no jersey number, obviously, so you don't know for sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously Clemente, had a better batting average than Aaron in the 60s, but he still represented himself well. Never hit over 50. I think we talked about maybe before we went live. He had 47 was the most he ever hit. He had a really good year in 71. That's why I was showing some of the 71 stuff. He was like at that point already 37 years old and had like one of his breakout years, even though he was injured that year. Obviously in 74. Oh shoot, did I lose the card? This is Tyrus's favorite card, so I got to show it, right? Our favorite card is the 74 Topps. It's card number 1. You can buy this for $5 ungraded right now, or probably less even, right? If you look around and don't care about condition too much. But they actually issued this card. We still had 713. So he broke the record, obviously, in April 8th, right when the season started. That first home game, I believe, for the Braves against the Dodgers with Vin Scully doing the call, right? So Saturday, might have been a Monday night. It was a game of the week type of thing, right? But I think we've all heard that replayed or seen it replayed multiple times. Mm-hmm. But obviously, he went through a lot that season. They did a thing. Like, he got the most mail of anyone ever in 1 year. Like, I don't know, 900,000 pieces of mail he got that year. A lot of it being hate mail. Unfortunately, right? So he went through a lot throughout his career. I know everyone thinks of Jackie or Dobie or all these other players, but Aaron was obviously going after a record that was held by someone that, a good portion of the country, unfortunately, didn't think should belong to someone like Hank, right? So, so he overcame a lot. I know he was relieved when he got it. You can even tell when you watch the video at the end, like you could just tell the weight off his shoulders when he got to home plate, right? So, it's fun to rewatch. I watch that probably every few months. Just go back to rewatch. Just like a 6 or 8 minute clip. You can watch through all the celebration, but it's a lot of fun. Hugo Signs of the Pastime did a really good recap of that back on the 50th anniversary a couple months back. It was really good. Where he actually went to where the stadium used to be in Atlanta and kind of talked about it, showed the video really quick, and he actually ran where the bases would have been if it was still there, which was kind of cool. So if you haven't seen that video, I recommend checking it out. But Aaron, similar to what he said about Matthews, like so he hit 715 with the Braves, and then they trade him to Milwaukee later that year, which I thought was interesting. Right? They talked about. I saw that recently, maybe on Twitter. Just a fun fact. I didn't realize I never thought about it, but like. They said that Mays, Aaron, and Ruth all went back to the same town with the team they started the right. So like obviously Ruth went back to Boston with the Braves, where he started with the Red Sox originally, right? And Mays went back to the Mets, where he was with the New York Giants originally, and then obviously Aaron back to Milwaukee with both the Brewers instead of the Braves, right? So I never thought about it. Obviously I should have thought about it, known that. I just never put 2 and 2 together, I guess, and thought about it. But I thought that was really neat. So it was a homecoming for him. And I think he really enjoyed the town of Milwaukee. So I think he was happy to go back. They were happy to have him. Obviously, Yount was coming up, so they had a lot of young talent on the team. They didn't really do a whole lot with it. I know, Craig, I think you mentioned before you got to see him play, right? So
Yeah,
to see him
yeah,
run, which was awesome. So maybe we're going to get into that. I don't want to steal your thunder, but really jealous. I would have loved to see Hank play. Obviously, I wasn't born until a few years after he wrapped up, but I don't know, just really blessed. And obviously, I know I took a couple Spawn cards, but just want to thank Dan. Like Dan, if I wanted to see Dan's channel, he would have started his channel. I don't think I'd be collecting Spawn right now. So one of his, I guess, his second video, he did an intro video, kind of talking about his channel for 5 minutes, and his second video was where he showed off his Spawn collection, which he's being super modest, not showing his 67. Mostly because he doesn't like the way Spawn looks in those cards, but he has almost all the cards. And a lot of them in really good condition, and I know he's really happy to have them all. And he's got a great run. A lot of the cards he showed already I don't have, which I'm hoping to get, but yeah, it wasn't for Dan.
I'm hearing you right, Matt. So after Spawn, right, you're going to be thanking Craig for you going after Matthews' run, right?
I know. That's what's funny. I literally told Craig this. I gave him the 53 Johnson cookies selfishly, almost more than anything, so I wouldn't be tempted to start a Matthews run. But no, look, the thing about Matthews, he's not in outside of like the Spick and Span and the Johnson cookies. He's not in a lot of these other sets, which is terrible, right? Like he's in the Bill and Bob, which is great, but like I don't think he's in Muck Duds. I don't think he's in a lot of these other sets. So like,
no, he's not.
He's in a few bazookas I've seen, but he's just not in a lot of the cards. Like so, he's someone you actually probably could get the run. I don't say easily, but like outside of that 52 tops, which we all would love to have a copy of, right? Even if it was authentic, I'd love to have it, right?
That's what I'm down to.
Other than the hardest cards in the whole hobby to get.
It's the most expensive rookie card by Tops, right? Or by Tops, yeah. So you'll get it, Craig. I'm rooting for you for sure to get it. Hopefully sooner rather than later, right? But
I hope so. Yeah.
But I mean, Matthews, like I said, he protected Aaron and a lot. I think a lot of the credit for Aaron's success has to go to Matthews, whether directly or indirectly, right? So, and I think Hank knows that, right? I know they weren't like best buddies by any means, right? But like you said, I think they had a mutual respect for one another, which is good. And there's a lot talked about between Spawn and Aaron too. And I tend not to believe a lot of it. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of times the media blows things out of proportions. But I've seen a lot of pictures with Spawn. I don't think he was the man that everyone sometimes they talk about him being in terms of not really welcoming to like some of the players from the Negro League, et cetera. Right? I don't think that's true. That's
not true at all.
No.
Yeah, but I've heard some of those stories and. About things he said when the catcher was coming to the mound and stuff. I just don't think it's true. So
I don't think it's true either because like he was German, so I think like with that nationality background, I think he had his hardships too during that time.
100%, yeah,
right. So because of the whole war going on, and they're like, "You're a German," and calling them names and stuff too. I mean, he didn't get as bad as Aaron. But he still had his hardships, going along the way also.
Yeah, no, I just think they get like again certain people tell stories. Again, I don't believe any of it. If I did, I maybe wouldn't collect them, right? So it tells you what I think about it.
Even just the locker room at that time, Aaron was a young guy, and Spawn had been around the world. He was a veteran. He was a known commodity. And there was a real kind of a separation of the veteran from the rookie. You know, you had to earn your way, you know, and Aaron was kind of quiet anyways. And you know, he had some pretty bad experiences in the minor leagues. And so he was not one to want to interject into the circle.
And that's what I think a
Maybe
lot of
like,
it is too. I think he had a little bit of a chip
yeah,
on his shoulder, for lack of a better
yeah, a
word, too,
little bit.
about things.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it, to be honest. But like, and I hate that because, like, you know, it's all hearsay now, right? No one's ever going to know, right? But I hate that it's even a topic to even bring up. But and like, it's only because it's in some of the books I read about Aaron, right? But I don't believe any of it. Or I don't believe in any of it to be like true. As you know, look, like I said, I collect them because I think he's one of the best players of all time.
Absolutely, yeah.
These are, like they said, like, we're very lucky to pick players that are, I think, for the most part, very upstanding members of the baseball, you know, history, as well as just good people overall. I think of all the people they made happy over their careers. I mean, how many seasons do these guys play, and all the records and numbers they put up, and how many people remember going to see these three, you know, people at their peak? I think it's just, I feel blessed even to be able to collect their cards, right? So.
And the really cool thing then about Eddie Matthews, you know, is he retires from Detroit. He gets back with Atlanta. He's like a hitting instructor, kind of a minor league kind of guy. And he gets hired as a manager of the big league club. And he was the manager when Aaron hit 715. You know, and so that's really so cool is that, like, Eddie Matthews, they were together, you know, all through the 50s and 60s. And, you know, and then now he's his manager, you know, at the most critical time, you know, when in 73 and 74. And I think it's so awesome that on that clip when Aaron hits 715 and at about the 38-second clip, you can see Matthews comes out and he kind of puts his head, kind of grabs him by the neck, you know, and kind of pulls him to his face and smiles. But the media was so pissed because Matthews closed the locker room down. He wouldn't let nobody in for like an hour because he knew that it was so important for Hank Aaron to celebrate that with his teammates and his family, because he knew Hank. You know, they'd been together so long. He knew Henry Aaron, besides just knowing Hank Aaron, the player. And I always thought that was such a stand-up thing, to take the heat from the commissioner, take the heat from the press, and say, I'm letting my man enjoy this once-in-a-lifetime moment with his family. And, you know, he was the manager for a couple of years, and then he got fired. And Aaron was very supportive of Matthews. He said he shouldn't have been fired, you know, and so it was just kind of interesting. Then, you know, as far as Aaron, he goes to Milwaukee, and I was in 1975. I was 13, and my brother had graduated high school, and he was getting ready to go in the Air Force. And so my mom and dad, we went to a ball game the last time as our family. You know, me, my brother, and my sister, my mom and dad, and they were playing the Oakland A's, defending World Series champs, and Hank Aaron hit a home run off of Ida Blue. I think it was 738. And so I was like 13 years old, and I got to see this home run, and I knew it was important, you know, but I kind of wish I could go back in my 13-year-old self with my adult mind, you know, and to understand the true significance of it. You know, I mean, I knew, like, hey, this is Hank Aaron, but, you know, I didn't know it was like Hank Aaron, you know, I mean, like I know now. And what's so cool is, like, Robin Yount was a young kid then, and he used to call him Mr. Aaron. And Hank was like, I'm your teammate, you know. And Robin, you know, he was 19 years old, and here's this larger than life hero, you know. Hey, Mr. Aaron, you know. And so it was interesting for Hank to come back to Milwaukee, you know, and finish out his career. And I that's really one of my defining
last
moments.
card.
To say that I got to see Hank hit a home run, which is so cool, with my mom and dad and my brother and sister. And,
that's a nice card. I like that one move.
I love it.
It's high grade, 7.5, which I'm really happy to have. Never showed it before. And
nice.
I collected this card as a kid. I remember collecting it as a kid.
Yeah.
And
so do you have the complete run now, Dan? Do you have the whole run?
Flagship, yeah.
Nice.
Good,
yeah.
Good.
Also, one other card I wanted to show. Well, two, actually. I do have the 74 and a 6 also.
Nice.
Card number 1 in the set. And I do have this.
Short print.
Yeah.
Short print, 64 stand-up. So I do collect Warren Spahn cards from the 1960s.
I knew you did.
Despite rumors to the contrary.
Were you kind of going after the stand-up set, Dan? Were you kind of trying to build that set, or are you just
no, it's 60 something cards, and there's like 10 short prints, including Yaz.
And the Yaz is really expensive.
Yeah, I know Rocket Rick is going after. I think he's down to like maybe 3 or 4.
There's like 66 cards and there's like 22 Hall of Famers. It's not an easy set to build.
No, it's not.
I was never even that crazy about it until I got this card and realized, oh, this is actually a really nice card. So
yeah.
I'll get a few here and there.
I love them. And just real quick on were you done, Dan, or did you have more to show? Or?
I'm done.
Real quick, I just bought this here the other day, and it's an Eddie Matthews signature. He was at a show in 1990.
Huh.
You can see the price back then was $10. For all the people going to the National, like, holy cow, $15, I believe, for a bat. But it was in Massachusetts, and so he was going to be signing. He was, Eddie Matthews, and just kind of a cool piece because we all know, like, you can find Matthews signed stuff everywhere. And Dan, I think we talked about it with like Mickey Mantle. These guys made more money doing this than they ever did playing baseball, because by then they were on the circuit going everywhere and signing. But I thought I wanted to get that because it's just a cool piece.
Sturbridge, Massachusetts, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's right when you take Route 84 from Connecticut into Massachusetts. You're about 60 miles west of Boston, and there's Sturbridge right in the middle.
Yeah, when I saw this,
quite as far as Springfield.
I think I got it for like $10.
Hartford and Springfield.
Yeah, it was $10. It's just kind of a neat piece that ends the career for Matthews, because they were on that circuit for a good while, late 80s, 90s, signing balls, bats, pictures, making $10 a shot, and it's not much for us now, but you think, that was probably pretty substantial income for all those guys, going forward.
How cool would it be if you had the piece that was signed that went with that ticket?
I know. I can always make up a story because I have a bat at home that's signed by Matthews. So I can claim I was in Massachusetts, although I wasn't. But
that's a nice photo of him on the card. That's a really nice photo.
So not to get off the Brave stuff, but my first Hall of Fame baseball that I bought was a Yogi Berra. And when I got the ball, it had the ticket from the signing with it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. But yeah, I know, like, I watched the videos at the closing of County Stadium, when they closed in 99, I think it was. Matthews didn't make it there for that. He was still alive, but I think he was in somewhat bad shape. But Spahn was there and Aaron was there, along with many of the Braves players, the Green Bay Packers, players from the Lombardi years and whatnot. But I think Spahn threw the final pitch, if I remember. And he was pretty old, but it was just, Aaron, and to see Aaron and Spahn, closing down County Stadium was really awesome. And there's a story from one of my books about Eddie Matthews, that last game that they played in 65 at County Stadium. And he came to bat in like the 9th inning, and there was only about 10,000 people there, but they gave him like a 3-minute standing ovation, and Matthews had tears coming down because he realized that this was the end of the best part of his life, that he'd spent at County Stadium all those years with all of his teammates, and he didn't really want to go to Atlanta. They didn't want to do it. They had a house, their family was well set, and he did remark in his books about that night was the end of the best chunk of his life, because they were leaving the place that they'd called home for so many years and had great success. And there's a really classic photo of Aaron and Matthews taken from the back, and they were walking up the ramp to the clubhouse after the last game at County Stadium. And you see like the old lights, like the old tunnel lights, it's kind of really dates the photo as far as being mid-60s. But they're both have their head down and they're just walking to the locker room for the final time as Milwaukee Braves.
He was team captain, though, right?
What's that?
Matthews was team captain, right?
Yes, he was. Yep, he was team captain. The interesting thing is the manager named him captain because he thought by making him captain that would maybe rein in his drinking. But it didn't really happen, Matthews was a great player, but he was hard. He was stubborn. He didn't like Willie Mays. He didn't because he felt Willie Mays was a showboater and took away the spotlight from Hank Aaron. So he didn't care much for him, and him and Drysdale had crazy battles in the 50s. Drysdale's got the record for most hit batsmen as a pitcher because he was not going to give up the inside of the plate. And Matthews and him, they had some brawls, but I don't know apart from the field how they got along, but on the field they were always battling because it was the Braves and the Dodgers, and Drysdale and Matthews have a long history of fighting each other. So, but just a really that the Dodgers Braves were just tremendous rivalry in the 50s. And rightly so. You had Koufax, Drysdale, Snyder, Gil Hodges, and you had Hank Aaron, Spahn, Matthews, Johnny Logan, so on and so forth. Just tremendous back and forth between two teams that I wished I would have been able to see myself.
Dang. Yeah. You guys got a lot of knowledge on everything that's going on here. Just like soaking it in and stuff. But like one thing that you mentioned when Aaron hit his 715 and stuff, have you guys seen the interview with Aaron's wife about her talking about that moment?
I don't think I have.
No. So when he was running the bases where the guys came out, like the fans came out, like she was so upset that they were stealing his moment. Like that was his moment, not theirs. And she just wishes that, there was more security or like something then, like they never came onto the field and just let him have his special moment of doing that. And I think it was, it's a bittersweet moment, but I mean, I don't know like how you would do that. Cause like nowadays it's like somebody does something, there ain't no fans going out in the fields anymore,
right.
Doing any of that. But I mean,
I know there was a lot of security, and there was, at one point they talked about having some like sharpshooters there because there was a lot of fear that somebody was going to do something really stupid.
Yeah.
And so I think they're a little bit surprised when those fans got on the field, and you can see that kind of relief on Aaron's face when he realizes they're just well-wishers.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he was, all the hate mail like Matt talked about that he got was tremendous. I mean,
It's crazy. He ran the bases pretty quickly though, right? Like the guys now would not do that. It'd have been like a 15 minute or good to run the bases, right? And it would show up. Bat flip for sure, and then all kinds of. Yeah, Aaron didn't do any of that, so it's just a different time, right? And I know we didn't go into like Spawn's numbers a whole lot, but like if you think about, I love going to Baseball Reference. I think a lot of us probably going to spend a lot of time on Baseball Reference. I know Dan, you show it at the beginning of all your Super Collector videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got the most wins. Like if you look at like most of the stats, it's not very strikeouts, a couple other ones, but shutouts, complete games, wins. He's the first color photo you see every time you look through the list, right? Because post dead ball era, he's a leader of, in my mind, the key categories, right? So he had a great career. I mean, if he wouldn't have done the last couple of years, he wouldn't have been over a 3 ERA either, right? So he had just under 1,000 walks, right, for his career. Right? I think so. Like he's right on the cusp. I mean, he had control, a lot of wins. Colin Aaron, same thing. He didn't walk. He didn't strike out a lot. He just had a lot of discipline, right? So I don't know. I just really enjoy the statistics of baseball, and I feel like even if you look at post integration, because since he went to war, he's tied with Maddox for the most wins, 355, right? So like you think about, a lot of people think about post integration being like when all the best players were able to compete on the field, right? And so I just don't think he gets much love in for sure not in the hobby, but even in the sport, I feel like he's often overlooked for the kind of the short term peak, which I guess is kind of what we're dealing with now with a lot of the fans these days. Is they love the 5 to 7 year peak, and that's all that matters. And I like the longer run, like you said, Matthews had over 500 home runs, right? Like I don't know, just may not see that many people get there again, unfortunately, right? So
the thing about Spawn that's really cool is he late 50s, early 60s, he had to change his style of pitching, because he was getting older and his fastball wasn't working like it used to, and he really like mastered some other pitches, which for a guy that's like really a veteran. I mean, at that point he was 15 years almost, maybe. I mean, to kind of change the way you're pitching and be so effective, was pretty impressive. I mean, and just to be a gamer too. I mean, he just he loved the challenge of facing different hitters, and he was such a great player for sure. I mean,
He
really overlooked. You know,
I don't know if guys know about this. Is what's called the greatest game ever pitched.
yeah.
Spawn and Marichal going 16 innings each in
Yeah.
Candlestick Park, and Willie Mays hits a home run to win the game 1-0. So this is Spawn at the age of what
42.
42 in July 1963. He's 42 years old. He pitched 16 innings, and I think that was the end because he wasn't very good in 64.
Yeah, but some people do talk about that game. Game took a lot out of him.
The other little bit of trivia that I like about the end of Spawn's career is he didn't get into the Hall of Fame until 74 because he pitched in the minor leagues in 1966. He was a coach and he pitched like one game. And then he did it again in 67. He was a coach, I think, for St. Louis, and he pitched a game in like Tulsa or something.
Yeah.
So he's pitching at the age of like 46. He's pitching in the minor leagues. So he wasn't eligible to get into the Hall of Fame because he had been still playing professional baseball.
I think his last card, I think I showed you, Matt, was like 73. He was the Indians pitching coach.
Yep.
Right.
73. Right. I think that's the last time he appeared on a regular issue card was in 73. But yeah, Spawn was just, he's often overlooked, you know, I mean, but just the records he holds are tremendous, you know. And then I think for Matthews, I have him as like the best third baseman behind Mike Schmidt. I have him ahead of Brett and Boggs and the rest. I mean, not just based off of WAR, but, you know, if you look at his numbers, his OPS plus is like off the charts, which is a real good indication. And so I have him as number 2. And then Aaron, you know, he's got to be obviously top 5 all time. I mean, maybe even top, you know, top 5 for sure. What do you think, Matt? Where do you?
I think top 5. I think, right. I mean, the top part is where do you put some of the pitchers, right? Like if you exclude pitchers, I think top 5 offensive, 5 to 7. But it's tough though. You got Williams, you got Musial, you got some of these people. It's just where do you put all these people?
Right.
The top tier is super tough, right? But yeah, I think like Spawn and Matthews are both like 40 and 50. I'm like, I feel like it's hard to believe. I don't know. I'd like to put them a little higher than a lot of other people, I feel like, but I'm definitely biased with and it's funny, I'm not even a Braves fan, which is the craziest part of all. I like 2 Braves players, but I'm a Braves fan.
I'm a Milwaukee Braves fan, not a Atlanta Braves fan, and
exactly.
You know, but the thing the last thing on Matthews, I just looked today. Out of the 500 home run club members that are in the Hall of Fame, so not including Bonds and Sosa,
Romero,
out of the guys in the Hall of Fame, Jimmy Fox is the only guy that took longer to get in the Hall of Fame. I think Fox went in on the 7th ballot in 1951, and Matthews was a 5th ballot guy in 78.
That's insane.
Which is interesting. You know, I mean, some people think Matthews, they kind of, because of the media relations, because he was pretty crass with them, and then also with what happened with Aaron and the 715 and not allowing access to the locker room. How dare you? You know what I mean?
There's a lot of examples of that. Like
Duke
Snider didn't get into the Hall of Fame until 1980, which was like, I don't know, his 10th year of eligibility or something, some ridiculous number. Right. There's a lot of guys like that. You think automatic Hall of Fame in your head right now, but you're like, took him like 6 tries to get in. Right. Matthews, perfect example. If Matthews, played now and retired with the numbers that he had, he's first ballot, automatic.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because I look at Jim Tomei, he was a first ballot guy, and I like Jim Tomei, and he had more home runs, but, I don't know. I mean, and Aaron was obviously a first ballot guy. Was Spawn? Was Warren?
Yeah, I think he was first ballot, but like I said, it was delayed because of that whole minor league thing.
Because of that, right.
One other thing. Oh, yeah, I wanted to mention that Craig's a fan of Milwaukee based on his life, and Matt's not a fan of the Braves at all. My thing is my family. My father's family's from Boston, so I have Boston Braves family background. So when my father, Spahn was one of his favorite players. So I heard about Spahn, but it was always about Milwaukee. It was always about Boston, not really about Milwaukee. So that's why I collect 48 Braves also.
Okay.
So I know we're getting we're over about an hour and 20 minutes into this.
Ooh.
Already. Right? Yeah. So
you guys,
Oh yeah, we can talk. But if you have it on hand, I know Matt and Dan, you're at the house. And Craig, you're at a hotel. But your favorite card, base run, flagship run of the player, and the worst one. Like your favorite card and the card you hate.
Actually, I was prepared. I'll go first. I guess.
Okay.
This is my
Give Craig the whole screen so I can run over to here.
Okay. Yep.
okay. Yeah, this is my favorite. Not because of the grade, but the 55. I love the facial picture and that motion of throwing the ball, plus the logo up there, the facsimile signature. I mean, this card, I just love this 55. It's a fantastic card. And then my least favorite is the 57. And even though this is the year they won the World Series, but I just like the 57 top spawn of the face pick. The portrait is fantastic. I love it, but I just don't care for the 57 Eddie Matthews card. I wish there was one like Al Kaline where he's got the bat on his shoulder, or the 57 tops with Aaron with the batting stance. But yeah, this I wish they could do a redo on it. So those are my favorite and my least favorite of the regular issue.
All right. So is there any like cards of Matthews like oh sorry, hold on. I didn't mean to do that. So fielding, like actually playing instead of just having like an action shot on the card. Is there anything besides, a bat on shoulder or like a close-up shot? Is there any?
No, nope. Almost everything is bat on shoulder or portrait. A lot of the press steel have this image like on the 55 of the fielding.
Okay.
There's a lot of the press steel that have that image, and which I always think is so cool because he was known for the bat, and he worked himself hard to become a good third baseman, and he did okay. But almost everything's either the bat or just a face picture.
Okay. And then besides the 52 tops,
that's the only one I need for his entire base run is the 52,
okay.
And I am saving for that. I allocate $50 a week that I have in a special savings account that I hope my wife doesn't watch. But I know that I can't. Yeah, I know I can't just go and buy the 52 tops unless I win the lottery.
Okay.
But so I'm just slowly saving, and I think in a way the reward when I do get it will be even more satisfying because I know that I've put the time into save for it and not like go into crazy debt to get a card.
Okay.
So
besides the 52, is there another Matthews card that you would like to have?
Home Run Derby 1959.
Okay.
If I could find the Home Run Derby card, I would be so tempted to pull up my Capital One card. I'm actually going to leave it at home when I go to Cleveland because
what's in your wallet moment.
yeah, I've done that in the past many years ago, and I've learned the hard way not to do that. So.
Well, all right, Dan. No, you're eager to.
So least favorite is 65, which I don't own. I did at one point own an 8, but I don't want the card because it looks like Grandpa wandered out of the field and they took a picture of him. Of the actual cards that I would collect, this is my least favorite. It's the 58. I don't like 58 very much as a set. I think it's boring. And what I don't like about this is that Spawn has so many great posed, like warm up and wind up photos, and this one just looks fake to me. It's just like he's staring at the camera in this sort of fake pose. So I'm not crazy about the 58 for those reasons. But I've come to realize that this is probably my favorite Spawn card. Mm-hmm. This is the 49 Bowman, a set that I adore because of the color, and this one in particular, that bright red, and you can see the the Braves logo, and he's got the leg up. And this looks way more realistic to me in terms of just a I think it's probably from a photo. It's a drawing from a photo. But yeah, 49 Bowman, probably my favorite right now. But it goes back and forth. It could be one of the other ones. In terms of spawn cards that I don't have that I do want, there's two of them. One of them, and Matt has both of them. So if his house is burglarized, I'm the first suspect. It's the 47 Tip Top. I love the 47 Tip Top set. I just got the Johnny Mize recently, and it's a fantastic card. And so the Spawn card is there. It's a short print, and it's really expensive. We saw a copy at Strongsville that was $10,000. So obviously, if I saved up $50 a month, I'd be like 90 years old. So I'm not getting in that. I'll probably get a 1 at if I can find something without a comma or a small comma. The other one is the Lake to Lake. Lake to Lake is another one of those Milwaukee local food brands that they're famous for. Lake to Lake did a I think 59 and 60, or is it just 59?
60 for baseball, 61 for
60.
football.
60. Okay, 60. So the Spawn has a 60 card. Lake to Lake. Again, I think it's out there in a decent price, in a decent quality, but what's available now on eBay and elsewhere, it's priced. I'm priced out of it. So, but I think Matt got one at a pretty reasonable price. So I'm gonna keep the faith that I could probably find one. So those are the two Spawn cards that I really want. There's others here and there that I could get, oddballs and bazookas and things like that. But at this point, those are my top two.
Okay, and Matt.
All right, so my least favorite, Aaron, is the 70 tops. The photo looks like he's got like candid camera or whatever, right? Like they just like hey, look up. Looks almost like a mugshot too. I don't know, I just don't like it. I don't like it. I love the back of it. Like if I could just honestly, I wish they just. I'm good with just this. The numbers are great. The yellow and blue. I love the back of the 70 tops, but God, that picture.
Like somebody walking by. Hey, Hank. Huh?
That's what it looks like to me, maybe, right? But look up. I mean, he's still super thin. He's like 6 foot tall, like 160, 170 pounds. He's tiny. All the power's in his wrist. And I guess that my favorite one, for a couple reasons, Ty's building this 55 Bowman set. I know it's not. You said flagship. I'm hoping Bowman counts, but
Sure.
so like I love this picture. I don't know why. I know a lot of people hate the 55 Bowman set. I think it's just a really good picture, Hank. Super young, obviously, because it would have been taken probably late in 54 for production at 55. The other reason I like it because I was able to get the Bowman contract. I thought I'd share really quick. So he signed in 54, his rookie season. So it's a rookie year autograph from Hank. They already had created their cards for that year, so he wasn't in the 54 Bowman set, which would have been awesome if he was. But this is the contract he originally signed with them. Obviously, Dane would know best being a lawyer, but he signed an addendum in 55 earlier in the year to because I think at the time he actually signed this probably illegally because it says he authorizes that he's over 21 years old. He obviously wasn't when he signed this. He was just over 20. He was like 20 and 4 months old. So I'm not sure that's why they had to have him re-sign an addendum the next year or not. Because this other contract was for 5 years, but I'll defer to my legal counsel. But it's really a fun item to have for sure. And something I probably should have in my house. I don't know. I feel like a little I don't have a whole lot of cards I feel like deserve to be like in a safety deposit box. But I feel like this contract probably should be like either a museum or somewhere else. But I'm definitely grateful to have it. Look at it quite often actually and keep it out. But probably something a person should have in their personal collection. Some of the stuff we all have is crazy. Yeah. This is definitely my one item where I feel like this is very unique and just privileged to have it.
Great.
Okay, so would that be your craziest item that you think you have in your collection?
I think that's the craziest item I have, just because I'll get like a Topps contract or obviously the 54 Topps contract would be my grail. In terms of an item, but from a card perspective, I was gonna say this. It's funny. I need the 60 Lake to Lake Aaron, and it's driving me crazy. So I still want the hires with tab, but since I have the untabbed version, I'm okay. But that 60 Lake Take Aaron just eludes me. I can't get one. There was a 5 or 6 that was on one of the auction houses, I don't know, 6 months ago, and they actually yanked it because it ended up being a reprint that someone counterfeited or whatever, right? So I just can't seem to find a chance to even bid on one. There's one on eBay forever. It was a 7 for like $3 or $4 grand. I'm just not going to pay that.
Right.
So, because again, some of those things I'm not sure if they're fake, or even my Spawn's an 8 makes me nervous that it's not real either, right? But anyway, I'd love to get the late. Like I think they're really nice cards. I should have pulled out the Spawn. I didn't think to pull it out, so otherwise I'd be happy to share it. But
You'd be torturing me, so.
yeah, it's a good thing I don't share it then.
Pull it out, man. Pull it out. No. All right, Dan, Craig, like what would be the craziest item in your collection of Spawn and Matthews?
I don't think I have anything like that, like they would break down the door to get. I don't know. I mean, I guess the whoops. I guess this guy is kind of weird. But they're not terribly uncommon.
Okay.
So I mean that's in terms of Spawn stuff, and then the Red Heart in a 7 is another one. But the photos are pretty rare.
Yeah, I was gonna say the photos or even the ticket stub from 48, right?
Well, yeah, but, you should manage my collection. That's
Because I did the same thing last year at the National. I bought a 57 game one World Series ticket of Aaron. I haven't got it graded yet, but I bought it because it was his first World Series game, right? World Series appearance.
first World Series appearance, Game 2, 1948 World Series. This is a ticket from Braves Field, which is cool because it has like the name of the street that you have to go in, which still exists. And the reason I know that is because my daughter went to Boston University, where the campus is now. And Braves Field is actually called Nickerson Field, where they graduated, but the streets are still there. It's just that they're dorms instead of a stadium. So yeah, I guess this is probably the most original item that I have. So, okay.
Yeah, for me, like I guess most original would probably be this Eddie Matthews, the Dave Blue Jacket 66. Him and his dad made that Bowman
Extension set, whatever you want to call it.
extension set. Yeah, and so I have this, and you can see on the back it's got the BB in the lower down here, the BB. I can't hardly read it, but yeah,
BBBB.
So this is yeah, it was made by Dave Blue Jacket 66 and his dad. That's kind of a set they made it when I guess in the late 70s. I remember Chris from Missouri did a real nice video on it, on the origins of it. But I saw this on eBay and I was like, I know where that came from. So this is kind of a cool piece. And then again, Matt tipped me off to I don't have it with me, but it's a little button, a little pen, and it's a yellow base pad.
Yeah.
Pen. And it's a small thing, and it's kind of an oddball piece, but there's just not a whole lot of them graded. And I think mine's a PSA 7. And
you have a nice one. I have a 3. Yours is really nice.
It's a unique piece for a Matthews collector. And for me, it's important. If somebody has to buy from me, who knows? You'd have to find the right buyer for that. But I think it's just a really, really cool piece because it's just so unique. Everybody can find a 54 tops, or if you got the money, you can find a 52 tops Eddie Matthews. But some of these unique pieces are just kind of cool to have. So,
okay. So we're going to be wrapping up here. So we'll go around the room here to, tell what your channel is. And then, so if anybody wants to subscribe to you that hasn't already, I'm pretty sure you all have the same subscribers I do, but if not, then, So Craig.
Yeah. I've been doing YouTube now for about 7 months, Pastor Craig's Vintage Cards, and I'm going to be done being a pastor. I'm going to be retiring from that here pretty soon, but I probably will keep the channel name for now. But yeah, Pastor Craig's Vintage Cards, and just really enjoy it. And we're all going to be housemates, I should say, not roommates, but housemates in Cleveland here coming up. And I'm excited to see everybody and just to really meet some people I haven't met before. It's going to be a blast. And I'm just real thankful to be on tonight. I appreciate it, Dave, for doing this.
Well, thank you for coming on. Yeah. All right, Dan.
Dave, yes, thank you for having us on. Really appreciate this. These are two of my favorite guys in the hobby. This guy and this guy. Dan's Vintage Baseball PC is the channel. Most of my content is me interviewing super collectors of various players, teams, sets, etc. Tomorrow, I'm interviewing the #1 Seattle Pilots collector in the world. Going to try to make it be a two-parter because he's got a ton of stuff. I also do, I do PSA, SGC reveals. I do show videos when I go to shows. I do odds and ends here and there. But that's basically the channel. I have 694 subscribers, so I need 6 people to get up to 700. So hopefully some of your viewers will say, "Oh, I want to go to that channel and make sure that that guy gets to 700." But
and I'm 9 away from 300.
This is my this guy over here, Matt, is my hobby mentor in many respects, keeping me focused and on a level and relaxed and not out of control. So I'm looking forward also to Cleveland to see all you guys and all the other guys that are in the house. I understand there are 4 CPAP machines, so there's going to be a lot of humming. But I'm not one of them. I'll be one of the snorers. So it should be fun, and looking forward to it. So thanks, Dave, for having us on.
Well, thank you for coming on, and then now Matt.
Sure. Thank you, Dave. Dave and I've done several of the Unprepared and Live episodes on his channel. Obviously, Dave and I go way back. We're been in the text thread for over a year and a half now. So Matt from the Card Story, we my son Tyrus and I really started off doing this channel, and the name was actually for 2 reasons. It was the Hank Aaron Card Story, and it was also his initials. His name Tyrus Henry, and then our last name is Aldridge, but THA kind of had a double meaning. I'm not that creative, I promise you. It's my only time probably, but the reason we did Hank Aaron is because he was one of the reasons I clicked Hank Aaron. Besides the fact of obviously a great career, and I look for the people of consistency. Is my son's birthday was the day that they won Game 7 of the '57 World Series, October 10th. It's a nice little tie-in for that. So anyway, we do obviously collect Hank Aaron, collect Spawn. We talked about starting to collect a little bit of modern with Maddox, another person I really respect. I think had a great career, also very much underrated, also very reliable. Then I do a little historical figures, which I haven't done a lot of showing yet. I have been buying like crazy is Ben Franklin, non-sports. So obviously I'll post playing dates for him since he passed away in 1790. There's nothing during his quote unquote career that is available. So it makes it a little easier. Not to worry about playing day premiums, but no, we have a good time. Obviously, yeah, same. I thought we did pretty good. Making an hour and a half without talking about too much about the National. I think that's pretty much a record on YouTube right now. So, but yeah, looking forward to being in the house. Everyone, we booked this house. Dave knows we booked this house almost a year ago already, right? And so and we've been teasing, we've been kidding about next year's lodging already, right? So
actually, we booked this house before last year's National.
We did, yeah, you're right. We had a book before, so probably about a year ago this time we booked this house, and so happy to fill it up with some of the new folks we met on YouTube. Because I think a year ago, yeah, Dave, Dan, you just passed the 1 year episode. I was on your episode on Ford Collectors, right? So, and like I said, Craig's only been doing 7 months. So, look, the main thing about YouTube is what we're doing right here. I would highly encourage anyone that is thinking about doing YouTube, just do it. My channel is not high content value or whatever, right? Not production value, whatever the word is. It's just about having fun with cards, talking with people, meeting other people, and kind of sharing the hype. Like I said, Dan's the one that mentored me on Spawn. I was so uninformed of how good he was until I watched that video. So if you're looking for someone to maybe collect and you don't know who, Dan's had, like he said, several good super collectors on of teams and or players. The one with Phil Rizzuto, you got to watch that 2-parter. If you haven't seen that yet, please go watch. Like as soon as you finish this episode, go watch that like now. It's unbelievable. It's very inspiring. I never known anyone that had that kind of connection to a player. It's really, really awesome. So, but yeah, I mean, these are my best friends in the hobby. I'm very blessed to be, hopefully get to know you guys even better at the National, and obviously more so in the future, right? So happy to be on with all. Thanks for having us on, Dave. And I did want to say, Dave, I think if I recall, you had some cards at the beginning you were going to share, maybe. You didn't get a chance to jump in with anything yet that I remember, right? So did you want to share any of those cards you had handy, or are we out of time?
No, we're good. It's all the same stuff you guys have anyway. So
You sure? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I just appreciate you guys coming on and doing this. I was like, why not? He's like, you each collect a certain player. I know, Matt, you do too. you know. So it was just like, why not just do the best of the Braves, you know, kind of show? Because I don't think there's been that, you know, talked about these three players all at once and their history, you know, their connection together and stuff. So I figure why not? So I appreciate it. You guys agreeing to come on and do it.
Thank you.
Yep, appreciate it.
So we'll wrap it up, end it here. So thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you all at the next game.